get this recording started. There we go. All right, so this is our summer meeting. We did not have a meeting in July. We won't have a meeting at the end of August. Our next chapter meeting will be at the end of September, and I have those dates at the end of this presentation for you. So we've got a little bit to cover today. If you haven't already, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat and share your awesome summer adventures. We have the recording started, and like I said, we'll share these slides, the chat room notes that Emily is taking for us when we're done. All right, so jumping into it, as you can see, we've got 2 columns worth of stuff on the agenda. So we're going to try and keep on that hour mark for you today. I think top on everybody's mind is return to service and current state of COVID. Michelle, do you want to talk about where we are with that?
Sure. It's funny because we say every time we have one of these meetings, there's a change in guidelines, either like Friday night, right after we've left the office. That didn't happen this time. So we're currently basically the same return to service guidelines that we've been at. There was a slight update on Friday night. It really doesn't change anything as far as what our return to service guidelines are at this point. Sorry, I just draw a blank. So we need to, as Master Naturalists, we need to maintain our responsibility to creating a safe and friendly space for all members, attendees, and local partners, and respecting the partners, our local partners and local organizations we work with and communities we work with, respecting their COVID-19 guidelines and policies as well, especially where you're partners with them. Some of their policies and guidelines may be more strict than ours at this point in time, and they may be more fluid depending on your local community's COVID-19 situation at any given time, day or week right now. I'm going to move to the next slide. The information regarding our return to service guidelines, like I mentioned, is still unchanged. Regarding vaccinations, we have no legal authority to develop policy based on the private health information of our members and those we serve. Our members shouldn't be asking the public about their vaccination status. We are not, if someone can mute, please. Yes. We are not able to ask people about their vaccination status, and we cannot make programmatic decisions based on a person's vaccination status. Everyone nationwide is encouraged to get their vaccine. We've seen that from CDC and local emergency management jurisdictions. We just cannot make, as a program and as chapters and program leaders, we cannot make decisions or policies based on vaccine or non-vaccinated status at the local level or even at the programmatic level. If you want to move to the next slide. So go ahead. So I had gone on vacation in the last half of July. Things were feeling good, looking great. We had just had some meetings talking about returning to full in-person, and then I got back last week and felt like returned to a different world. So where are we now? I mentioned earlier today that we have not had a change in guidelines regarding COVID-19 policies and procedures from our state agencies and thus the program at this time. We cannot require masks. We can encourage members to wear masks, but we cannot require it. And we cannot, again, make policies or decisions based on or rules based on whether a person is wearing a mask or not.
I was also going to insert here, Michelle, you can also encourage social distancing through intentional planning at chapter meetings, setting chairs up at social distance intervals if you are having in-person events as well. I wanted to throw that out there. I thought it was a great idea that I heard from a chapter where they intentionally set chairs at 6 feet intervals in facilities where there were not mask requirements.
Yeah, I think the word of the day, and probably the word right now, is encourage. We can't require, but we can encourage. In regarding masks, we also need to recognize, or as local leaders or leaders of your chapters and your communities, recognize that some of your partners and local organizations may be requiring masks, and we need to be cognizant of that. But again, as a program sponsored by our 2 state agencies, we cannot require masks by our volunteers and our attendees. Can we go back to virtual chapter meetings? Chapters are free to decide to go back to virtual meetings if you need to. There's not a requirement. Again, you can encourage. There's not a requirement to go back to virtual meetings, but I mean, personally, I'd advise that your chapter make decisions accordingly based on what your local community and cases in your local community look like, and what your local cities, organizations, and emergency management organizations are recommending for your community. So that means, yes, our chapters can go back into virtual meetings. You can possibly hold meetings where it's safe to do so with social distancing in mind, either indoors or outdoors and outdoors. We want to stress again, in the absence of guidance, these decisions can be made internally at your, with your chapter leadership, but also looking at your local emergency management guidelines and your case status situations in your local communities and the communities that you serve. So we're moving back into a time of being flexible again. We don't have a one size fits all rule right now, or anything to keep consistent. So be flexible, and I'm going to encourage, I think we both encourage you to make decisions to keep your membership and those you serve and the communities you serve safe. You want to cover the additional items here?
Yeah, we had a question submitted by a chapter president earlier today asking about contact tracing. We currently do not have guidelines that require contact tracing. They are not required, and we don't have a program built for contact tracing. So it is not a requirement at this time. We do, however, encourage you to use VMS as a tool, continue to use VMS as a tool to log attendance at events, and to look at for attendance post-event as well, if a list of attendees is needed. Michelle, are there questions? We do have some more to cover, not on COVID guidelines, but on some other adaptations that can be done, and hybrid training that we have coming up as well.
I don't see any questions. A couple chapters commented that one chapter commented that they voted to move to virtual meetings through October. Another chapter commented that they are moving to virtual meetings, and that was something that their board had decided recently. Another chapter mentions that they held a hybrid meeting at their at a facility. In-person chairs were set up in 2 positions with social distancing. Masks were not required. Let's see, another chapter mentioned that their board just decided to go back to virtual meetings for August. So yeah, we're in another fluid state right now.
Mhm. Okay. One of the other things that we wanted to talk about, and this was a question that was submitted by a chapter president prior to today's meeting, was asking about how to embrace the virtual and hybrid training with basic training that you guys will have coming up here shortly if you're a fall training season chapter, or with the advanced training. And Michelle and I wanted to remind you, and I'm going to drop that link in the chat here in just a second, wanted to remind you of our temporary policy that we instituted for the entirety of the calendar year 2021. That's January 1st through the December 31st, 2021. And regarding basic training and advanced training, where basic training allows for pre-recorded basic training sessions with a live Q&A follow-up, which can be done virtually with those folks that are watching those pre-recorded basic training classes. And then advanced training, again, will allow for pre-recorded advanced training with a live Q&A with the speakers for that discussion period that's needed. That, again, our goals with both of those flexible temporary policies changes is to allow for some flexibility in how your participants are joining your training classes, but also still keeping the kind of core values of that discussion, Q&A, and that student teacher environment where those students are able to ask questions and clarify points where there may be some misunderstanding. Let me grab that link real fast to drop in the chat. So that's posted on our website on the chapter documents page, but I've put a direct link right there.
So we have a couple questions in the chat related to training. And one question comes from Lois in El Paso. Are field trips required now for certification, or is each chapter deciding? So Lois, what I think you mean is during this time of fluid change and social distancing, are field trips required? And I mean, as a result of the situation we're in and social distancing, we can't require field trips for training sessions if they can't be done safely.
Michelle, we do have some great suggestions. I'm going to pull this tab over on top of the screen that I'm sharing. This is the temporary training policy. We have some great options to consider for your basic training field sessions, some ways that you can incorporate some of the virtual and hybrid or small group training scenarios with field sessions. So I'm hoping, Louis, that this will help to answer some of your question.
And then another question in the chat was from Stephen. He was asking if chapters are doing any collaborative training and among them, and was wondering how that's working or how it works. So if your chapter, collaborative training was one thing that we talked about, I think last fall, when we were talking about when online training was, and all online training was a thing of the fall, and to help minimize some of the impact of that. One of the solutions was for chapters in like ecoregions to get together and kind of collaborate on training that would be online. And so if you are a chapter that tried that, speak up and let us know how that has worked for you or what your experience was.
Or you can add that in the chat as well. Okay, so one of the other things that we wanted to share with you guys has to do with some upcoming training that we've talked about before for incorporating hybrid training. It's actually the slide after this. I thought it was the first slide. So I'm going to jump to it, and then we're going to come back to fall training class. One thing that we just finished scheduling out on Friday, and I have not yet sent it out to your training director. So this is the first you guys are seeing this, and I'll send it out to the listserv. I'll send it out to all chapter new training class and presidents today, and any chapter, new chapter, I'm getting my words mixed up. Any new class directors and all chapter leaders are welcome to attend. John Chivis with the Virtual Engagement Office here at A&M is offering this tips, tools, and hacks for hosting hybrid meetings and trainings. And so this event will be September 2nd from 12 to 1 p.m. It will be recorded, and we will post that recording on our website once the event's over. But we're going to get this set up with John and get a meeting link out there to you guys. Hopefully today. I don't have the meeting link yet, which is why it's not been sent out yet. So as soon as I have that set up, I will send this out to you guys, but screenshot this or grab a quick photo of it, and we'll have this more information on this hybrid training coming soon. And then going back to talking about fall training class. So again, if you have a fall training class that you're putting together, it should be on our website. This is a little snippet off the website of the fall basic training class under Naturalist news that we have with all the chapters that are hosting fall training classes. We wanted to just kind of do a live discussion. How's planning for your training classes going? Are you going virtual or hybrid, and what does that look like? And then again, as Michelle said, really the key words for this season that we're in of COVID is staying flexible and fluid as changes are happening. Feels like fall 2020 all over again, with changes happening every hour. So if you're doing a fall training class, if you want to drop in the chat how things are going, that would be great to share with other chapters.
Oh, yeah, it won't blow cool at all.
Okay.
Yeah, the unit inside runs, it's clean, unit outside, you know, that inverter.
Is that somebody talking? I'm not hearing it. And there's my kids' background music. I'm not.
Maybe.
Okay.
I think you got it.
Okay. Apologies. Yeah, just drop that in the chat and let us know how your trainings are going, and we'll let you guys know as soon as we get that meeting pulled together. I might just send out a save the date today while we're working on that other part. All right, Michelle, anything else before we move to the next stuff? No? Okay. Okay. Moving on to some of the other kind of current events of the Master Naturalist State Program, some things that are happening. We've got the license plate is out. If you've ordered yours, let us know. My 14-year-old son is extremely embarrassed every time I say you're stepping into the wild for you Master Naturalist wagon. He loves it so much. But yeah, he got so embarrassed one day that he walked home about 12 blocks down the street from my mother-in-law's, and that's fine. He needed the exercise. But I'm excited. I've got mine proudly on my vehicle, and I hope that you guys have yours as well. One of the questions that we've gotten a number of times, and I wanted to just kind of let you know that we don't have an answer for, is how many plates have we sold? We don't have that information yet. We were told that we should get quarterly reports from the DMV, but we have not been given our first quarterly update or told when we will get our first quarterly update yet. So how they define quarters. So as soon as we have that, we'll share that information with you on how many plates we've sold so far. And every time I'm driving around, I'm looking for plates. I'm fearing I'm going to start honking at somebody with a Master Naturalist plate if I find one. The next thing to update y'all on, we just finished our summer sale pop-up for the TMN apparel that closed last Thursday, or the Thursday before last. We will be shipping that out in a few weeks. We also just finished restocking items in our bookstore, and those just went live on their website this morning. So as soon as they're ready to order, I'm going to send an e-blast out about that. So there's going to be some more information coming to the listserv here shortly about the AgriLife bookstore restock. Okay, and Michelle, jump in if you've got anything or if there's any questions that I need to discuss.
There is one that was related to training that I saw a couple times in the chat. I was looking at chat. People are asking so they're starting to plan January trainings and New Year trainings already. And a couple of chapters were asking if we could get that information up on the state website sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we sure can. I'm gonna write that down real fast. Okay, I'll work with Cameron, our student worker, to put out that request for chapters. Okay, some of the next big events that we have coming up, and there's a fly in here. So the next big events that we have coming up is tomorrow is our TMN Tuesday for August. And then the following Tuesday is our Be the Change event, August 17th for this month. This month's TMN Tuesday tomorrow, 12 to 1 p.m. recorded as always, is going to be hosted by Wade Powell in September. I believe it's September 5th. Is that correct, Michelle? Is the 10-year anniversary of the Bastrop Fire, the largest wildfire complex in the state of Texas. One of the things he's going to talk about is some of the habitat recovery and things learned from an event of that scale that can be applied across the state. And then the following Tuesday is our Be the Change with Javier de Leon, who is also our chapter advisor of the year last year. And he's going to be talking about bridging the gap, getting new audiences outdoors in the Rio Grande Valley. Javier is an incredible dynamic speaker. I strongly encourage you to attend both of those events, and registration is on our website now. September Be the Change will be our urban biologist panel listening tour, and I believe that one's September 14th. Okay, Michelle, I'm going to keep going unless you signal me otherwise. Okay, so TMN Tuesdays in 2021, we've had a couple of questions from chapter presidents, and so we wanted to share some of that information here to answer those questions. As a reminder, that temporary 2021 policy that we linked earlier, and I can drop in the chat one more time, is applied to TMN Tuesdays as well. Our current calendar year for those temporary policies is January 1st through December 31st of 2021. So as of the moment, our current policy or plan for this policy is that December's 2021 TMN Tuesday event, watched either live or recorded, will count for advanced training in 2021 only. Yes, it may be available on the website in 2022, but it will only be available. Any of the 2021 TMN Tuesday events, watched live or recorded, will only be available for 2021 AT hours. And we'll get an e-blast sent out about that as well. Okay, I'm just going to keep going, Michelle, until you jump in and cut me off. Okay. The next question that we got from a number of chapter presidents is talking about, will you do TMN Tuesdays in 2022? And we'd like to be able to continue these. We found that they've been very successful so far, especially as we've been in this kind of constant state of flux with COVID changing. Some of the questions that we want to ask you today is, what would you envision TMN Tuesday looking like in the coming year or years as we go forward? Should they continue to be monthly, or should we move them to a bi-monthly or quarterly schedule? We have seen the live attendance totals drop off in the past few months. Now that was pre-Delta in the last month or so, as folks have been starting to get back outside and engage in more in-person activities. We'll see what that looks like over the next couple of months as we're kind of shifting back again, or so it feels like. And the question that we're asking you is, are your members watching them live or recorded? We're seeing about the same on our YouTube counts, that about as many register are also watching them on YouTube. So what does the best case scenario look like for TMN Tuesdays in 2022? And then I'll get to Deborah's question in a second. Summer, yes, summer drop off could absolutely be a thing. And then Sharon said bi-monthly or quarterly. So we may not have an answer to this question today, but if you guys will think about it and work with your chapter members and get some feedback from your chapter members on what they envision or how they would see TMN Tuesdays being received throughout 2022. That would help us as we're planning for next year. Okay. And then Deborah sent in a question asking, how long will the recordings be online post-event? So I wanted to add this one here just as a kind of connection between 2021 and 2022. So the recordings are live on the website forever now. They're on our YouTube. They are forever live. They can only be counted in the calendar year in which they occur. So they can only be counted as advanced training, either watched live or recorded in the calendar year in which they occur. So 2021's TMN Tuesdays will end as advanced training, available on December 31st. And then if we do them in 2022, those will become available to watch once posted in 2022. Okay. Anything else, Michelle?
No, everybody likes them.
So are you gonna make me do the rest of this, or are you gonna jump in now?
I can jump in. Sorry, I was working on chat. So virtual volunteer fair, August 31st and September 1st. We have a good number of sessions that have come in. We're in the process of pulling those together now and arranging them into a 2-day event. It's looking like the tentative sessions will happen in the mornings on those days. Obviously, we didn't have 50 or 60 of them like we've had in the past. So we're August 31st and September 1st. We're going to try and split those up across the 2 mornings, it looks like right now. So that's our tentative plan at this time. And as soon as that agenda is pulled together, we will send that out through the listserv to you as chapter presidents, asking that you share that with your membership. There will be some place-based sessions that will be shared directly with the chapters that are closest to those sessions. And there will be some other statewide virtual opportunities that anybody could work on from anywhere within those. Our goal is to launch the agenda and registration August 16th. And we'll be working on that the rest of this week to get that done. Go ahead. Okay. So I'm sure you want to take this one.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Registration has opened for our annual meeting. How many of you have registered? I see some hands go up. Remember that this is a hybrid event. We're planning for both an in-person portion of the meeting and then a virtual portion of the meeting. It's moving around a lot.
I'm sorry.
You keep going back and forth. So as with everything over the past almost 2 years now, a year and a half, I guess. The event is evolving. So we're again in another new type of event for our program, this being the hybrid event. That includes both an in-person component and a virtual attendee component. And we're navigating that as we go along again. But we have a great agenda already, as hopefully you've seen. The agenda hasn't changed by any of our past years. We have just as much on the agenda this year as we've had in any other year in the past. Speakers will be presenting in both forms in this hybrid version as well. So they could be either in person or virtually. And that is by their choice. We have a need for volunteers, and some of our local chapters closest to the meeting have already stepped up and are helping with that. We'll be sending out an additional request for on-site volunteers soon, as we get more of this organized and moving forward. We're working on the volunteer piece of it right now, and what those job descriptions look like for each of the jobs and needs at the annual meeting. We do know that we will need technology, tech hosts and physical room hosts. Some of the local chapters have stepped up in that role already. There may be some areas where we'll need to fill in from other chapters. We'll have more information on that as we move closer to the meeting. As mentioned previously and in previous meetings, that the field experiences that are taking place at the annual meeting will be for in-person attendees. What else do you want to mention here, Mary?
I think that's kind of the core of the hybrid meeting. One of the biggest questions though that we've been getting is, what is our COVID policy for the annual meeting? And right now our COVID policy is this. It's on the website. It's on where you register. It is that we're committed to creating that safe space for that valuable and engaging and educational and networking experience, safe environment for our membership. Is obviously first and foremost as we're planning this event with so much change happening so quickly. When it wasn't happening so quickly just 2-3 weeks ago, we are holding tight to staying patient and hopeful and optimistic that things are going to go back to a lesser dynamic flux as we're in right now. We don't have an answer on what that will look like, and I'm not one to play the what if game quite yet, as I'm staying optimistically hopeful for things smoothing and clearing and just us coming together. We really want to be there in person and we want to come together, but we're going to do it smartly. So if your members ask, know that right now we're watching, and we do have some internal set deadlines or timelines for when decisions need to be made for making changes. And as soon as we have those changes, if they do need to occur, we'll let the members know and the registrants know as soon as possible. So the answer is, hold tight with us just a little bit longer. Speaking of timeline, so our registration did open last week. We have our project and our contest deadline coming up October 1st. Our registration deadline for in-person is October 1st. If you do plan to join virtually, our timeline registration ends October 24th with late registration. So we're going to run through the contests and awards real fast, and then hopefully there's going to be this discussion. I see that there's a few questions already. So contests and awards, advisors award, please nominate your chapter advisors. They also did not sign up to be chapter leaders during a pandemic, and they have worked hard to help translate changing guidelines over the last 18 months, 24 months nearly, with your members and your chapter. So please show them the support that we feel from them on a daily basis, and nominate them for advisor awards. That's on our website now. The deadline for that is October 1st. Our video contest is also online. It is open now, actually. The deadline for that is October 1st. So grab your camera, get out and about, and take some great video snaps of great videos to showcase what the Master Naturalist program does, what it is that you enjoy about the program, recruiting new members, or just marketing your field projects, project-based videos, historical or anniversary videos. All of those will apply for this year's video contest. And then Project Fair is also open now. We're getting the final guidelines, should be up on the website today, if not by tomorrow. That is maintaining its virtual aspect. Deadline will be October 1st. The virtual aspect of the Project Fair, there will not be physical posters this year, but a virtual presentation. That's going to be our TMN Tuesday in October, on October 12th, so that all TMNs can come and enjoy the projects that you are putting forward for this year's Project Fair. And so no physical poster needed, but that virtual presentation October 12th. But you do need to enter a proposal in with that the website. Thank you, Michelle, for dropping that. And then our photo art and media contest, the Gideon Lincecum chapter has been working hard to make this contest happen again. And we're going to stay virtual with the photo art and media contest. And they're working hard to get those guidelines up. They should be up within the next couple of weeks. And as soon as they're up, we'll share that. The system will be open for submissions September 1st. And there's going to be more information about those as we get closer to that date. So watch your email boxes for that. Okay, and again, we haven't changed a lot about these slides, but we wanted to kind of just run through where we are. The agenda is on the website now. You can see there's different aspects of the meeting that are staying fully hybrid, and some that are planned to be fully in person, and what those look like right now. Oh, and I wanted to throw out a reminder. As y'all are chapter presidents and chapter advisors, leaders for your chapters, you are invited as you register to register for the chapter presidents meeting on Thursday, October 21st at 11. I believe it's scheduled from 11 to 2 p.m. with lunch provided. Field sessions, we've got 14 incredible field sessions on this year's agenda, and we have capacity restrictions and transportation for those. Some changes that have happened, but the local chapters have put together some incredible selections for you to register for. I think some of them have already filled up. I don't think all of them have last time I looked. And then again, this is the same slide. I added the bubble there. We've talked about the need for volunteers at the annual meeting a few times. I have not given it my direct attention yet. We were working on getting registration launched first. Now that registration is launched, we're going to shift into looking for getting volunteers signed up for helping with that event. And I think I've got an email from Tom in my inbox this morning with some information on that. So we'll be shifting focus to get that up and running and shared as well. And then the reservation link for the for lodging at the Marriott Airport, the DFW Airport Marriott in Irving is live. That reservation link is shared on the registration for the in-person path. It is also emailed to folks in their confirmation emails as well. If you need a pre or post stay, we do have the same allotted contract rate, 3 days pre and 3 days post event. If you want to make a whole vacation out of it, there is an email address for Myra, who's our events specialist at the Airport Marriott.
So there's a couple questions in the chat regarding the hotel. One asks, are all rooms doubles?
No, there were some king rooms available, and I believe that those are all booked. If you have a specific request for a king's room and you don't see it on the website, email me and I'll see if they can readjust our rooms allotment.
And Julia asks about the hybrid president's meeting. So is there, can you address
so
like what the registration covers and
yeah, so president's meeting should be available for both virtual attendees and in-person attendees. So the system calls them paths. So if you come in the pathway to be a virtual registrant or an in-person registrant, you should see the chapter president's lunch in both spots, and you should click on it as a attend session. I may send out a reminder to all chapter presidents and ask kind of directly, do you plan to attend and how, to make sure that we've got everybody registered in a final count. But I'm gonna write that down as something to do, Julia. Okay, and then I see Sharon's note, tried using the conference registration link for the hotel. So the hotel also had a little bit of a glitch where they had more of the rooms allotted for Friday night than for Thursday night. So they hopefully have fixed all of that now. Myra has been responsive and helpful for those that have had issues with the hotel reservations. And as always, email me if you've got any problems with registration or with getting a hotel room, email me and we'll fix it right away. The project fair is, now you're gonna make me look, October 1st. Nope, okay, I gotta fix that. I think project fair was actually moved up. Project fair deadline is September 1st. This is the correct one.
The only October deadline is the, what did I put up above? Video contest.
Video contest. Okay.
Everything else is September 1st.
We'll send out a reminder on the listserv with the correct dates. Thank you, Sharon, for catching that. I can't tell you how many times I have refound errors. Okay. Okay. Just a quick reminder of the registration fees. We do have early registration and standard registration this year. That's a little new. That helps with our state agency folks. That helps with folks encouraging them to get early registered. Our virtual registration will close October 1st, as will all of our in-person registration will end October 1st. That is our guarantee date to the hotel. And then October 2nd to 24th, we'll have late virtual registration available. And then another part of this year's annual meeting, we've talked about briefly, but we haven't gone into in depth on yet, is our virtual nature venture. This is the fundraiser event that our Cross Timbers chapter is hosting for us. They've been working hard to put their virtual nature venture website together and registration system. I got to preview it on Friday with Mary Beth, the organizer, and it's looking really good. I sent her a few more edits, and so hopefully this will launch this week, if not early next week. So this will be a fun kind of side event fundraiser, replacing our normal silent auction that we have at the annual meeting. Again, sponsorships are greatly appreciated. We have a number of chapters that have offered sponsorships this year, and we appreciate those who have the ability to support the annual meeting. As the previous slide said, the annual meeting is a training event and is not a financial support to the state program office. It is a cost recovery for that event only. So all funds generated by the annual meeting stay for the annual meeting. And provide for next year's cost recovery to allow us to lower registration costs for everybody next year. Okay, so with that on the annual meeting, what are some of the other questions that you were hearing from your membership?
So there's some questions in the chat. So one chapter asks, do chapters need to bring and send an auction item? And since we're not doing a silent auction this year at the meeting, no.
Okay.
I put a question in the chat, but I messed it up, so I'll just ask it in person. When I registered, I think 2 weeks ago, Austin was, I think, in stage 3, maybe looking at stage 4, and now we're in stage 5 in terms of COVID, the COVID situation. So I understand that this is a cost recovery event and that you all have financial obligations to the host that you have to honor. But if we get to the time of the event and we're just not feeling comfortable going out and being in public and being in person, do we forfeit our registration fees? Can we be refunded the difference for a virtual registration, or how does that work, if at all?
Yeah, so Emily, Michelle and I played a couple of those kind of what if scenarios out. I hesitate to say too much about the what if, because then it feels like I'm saying that this is going to be what we're going to do.
We don't really have a good, we don't know yet. I mean,
Okay, that's completely fair.
To be honest, we don't know.
Yeah.
It's way too early to tell.
We're staying in touch with the hotel, so that they know that we're responsive. They know that our plan is to continue to communicate with them about our member safety, the current events of Irving, and the state of Texas as well. We are kind of constantly looking at all of the different financial aspects, because as you mentioned, that is an important consideration when we're looking at the annual meeting. But we're also looking at ways that we can allow all of our participants to continue. There's too many what ifs for us to really kind of go into all of the different potential scenarios, because there is no.
And there's a lot of those what ifs depend on the situation at the time we have to make the decision. So, yeah. and the legalities of our contract, and what's allowed, or what the pandemic clause is at that time, or what the pandemic everything. I mean, it's really too early to know yet.
Okay, that's a valid answer.
I know it's not what we like operating under either, but you would think we'd be used to it by now, a whole year and a half later.
Are there other questions? Questions about refunds, Bert, about the hotel and the conference? So we do have a refund policy for the meeting as it stands right now, moving forward. If the meeting changes, if anything changes, that will be reflected in whatever policy changes happen, moving refund or event policies move forward under those what if scenarios. The hotel right now is on I believe our contract says a 24 or 72 hour reservation cancellation. As with any hotel, if you contact them, I believe it's 24 hours in advance to cancel your reservations. So that's an individual reservation cancellation with the hotel as you make it.
Thanks, Maribor.
Of course. Okay, are there other questions about the annual meeting? We've got a few more slides just to wrap up with some looking forward.
There's a question about volunteering at the annual meeting and whether people would need to register in order to volunteer.
So we were working on that. I still have an email in my inbox from Tom. The Blackland Prairie chapter was helping us to put the volunteers together, volunteer kind of management for the annual meeting together. And I have not given that attention yet, as I was focused on registration last week. So Sharon, as soon as I have that, I will share that, blast that out to all the chapters. Okay.
Mary Pearl,
Yes,
this is
ma'am.
Mary Jane out in Midland. I have a question about the event. I registered for the chapter president's meeting, and then I wanted to do the Texas Waters, and it showed an overlap, and it would not allow me to register for Texas Waters event.
Yes,
So
ma'am. They do overlap in time. If you want to do both, email me and I can admin on it. I can add you to both of them and make a note that you'll have to leave the president's meeting early to get
okay,
there.
well, I didn't know if I should leave the president's meeting early or go to Texas Waters late, but
It's wherever you put priority. I mean, you're
Right.
leaving my meeting to go to somebody else's, so I may.
I
take it
know, I
personally.
was thinking Texas Waters, I would go late, but anyway, I didn't want to not be able to sign up and then Melissa saying, where did you come from? Because I've had that
Okay.
happen before. So I will email you to let you know about
Perfect.
that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, I'm going to keep moving. Like I said, we've got a few more slides, and then if there's still time and more questions at the end, we can go over those at the end. We did want to open it up if there were other questions about, or just general questions from the President's Roundtable. I saw some discussion in the chat about directors and officers insurance, and it looks like that got answered. So thank you.
Yeah, and just following up on that a little bit more, we did this, that specific question was a question that we've talked about in a previous president's meeting. And at that time, there were only a couple of chapters that had their own directors and officers insurance. And if that's something, every chapter is just a little bit different. And so if that's something your chapter is questioning, we encourage you to seek legal counsel on that locally.
I also dropped in on our website. We also have an insurance and liability 101 one pager that we put together a number of years ago now. And that has some good information, resources, and then some FAQs on it as well. So if you have not seen that one, I encourage you to check that one out. Okay. If there's more questions, y'all holler, throw those in the chat, and we'll have some time here in the end, hopefully. Michelle asked that I put all these dates on the very end because we've got a lot going in the next couple of months. So these are the August, September dates. Y'all can grab a quick screenshot or use your phone to take a snap of this. But this is some of the major events and deadlines that we have coming up. And now I'm realizing that I don't have the project fair September 1st on here, Sharon. So now I have to fix that one again. I need to change that. Okay.
Yes, but the website still says October 1st, and I'm pretty sure that's what our person who's completing our project fair application was counting on October 1st.
It has always been October 1st. Historically, it's always for years and years. But since we want the project fair to be presented on October 12th at the TMN Tuesday. We pushed it earlier to give us enough time to get those people scheduled and reviewed and kind of placed on the timeline for October 12th. So yes, I will get that updated and then I'll blast that out. Thank you, Sharon. Just our oversight. Okay. And then the last slide here that we have for today is that our next chapter president's meeting is going to be September 27th. That is our last meeting before the annual meeting. And then at the annual meeting, that'll be Thursday, October 21st at lunchtime on that Thursday. And it will be hybrid, as we mentioned earlier. And then our last two chapter presidents meetings of the fall of 2021 will be on slightly different Mondays than normal, November 15th and December 13th. And then Michelle, you and I probably need to put it on our to-do list to go ahead and start putting 2022 meeting dates together so we can get those folks, those dates too. Because it feels like that's just around the corner. Okay. So I see Mickey's comment about the project fair deadline. You and I need to talk about how we're gonna, since we've made that mistake on a couple of places. how we can adjust to help chapters.
So
The only thing that's due October
is the
1st, September
description,
1st is the short 1-paragraph description.
but then they're also presenting as TMN Tuesday.
Yeah, but the presentation. So let me pull this up while we're spending. So before we get into project, answering some of these questions, the official meeting is over. We're going to answer some of the questions in the chat. If y'all need to go, feel free to jump off. Thank you guys for joining us today. I will get this recording posted later this afternoon. And again, really appreciate y'all coming for today.